I wonder if my hearing's gotten bad. Can you say it again? My wife, who has looked down on me because she makes more money than me, is now on her knees in front of me.
I love him. I've never felt that way before, you know? I want you to leave me. I'll give you custody. In fact, we're going to have a baby, and I want to give birth safely. So, will you get out of my house before the end of the month?
Her eyes are sparkling, but what she's saying is disgusting. Okay, here are the divorce papers. I'll only take Sean. I don't know about that other kid, I said in a calm voice.
Aw, no. Take Rob with you.
She was really insisting. I don't want to do that. Because he's... My name is Jude. I am 48 years old. I have a wife, Hilda, who is a bit younger than me, and 2 boys. The oldest is 20 years old, and the youngest one is 15. I work full-time as an office worker. I work early in the morning and help prepare dinner when my wife comes home late.
Good morning, Dad.
Even though he's in elementary school, Sean wakes up by himself. But my wife is not a morning person and doesn't wake up easily.
Jeez, why did you wake me up?
After a while, my wife wakes up with a grumpy look on her face. You're not a child. You should wake up by yourself. I tell her coldly.
If I'm late, it's your fault. What are you talking about? It's your fault, isn't it?
When my son blurts out a good argument, my wife's face turns red.
How dare you talk back to your father?
Oh, shut it. She's always like this when she's not in a good mood. Come on, we're going to be late if we don't get out of here soon. My wife finishes her breakfast and rushes out of the house. That is the scene every morning in our house. And there's another problem. Rob, are you awake? If you don't get ready soon, you'll be late for work. I called out to my oldest son Rob through the door.
Shut up! I already quit work yesterday. Leave me alone.
I heard a noise from inside the room as if he was throwing something at the door. Rob has a temper. After graduating from high school, he got a job, but didn't last long and he quit. As for the reasons for his resignation, he said that he felt excluded and that his colleagues talked about him behind his back. He did not listen to what I had to say.
Oh, okay. Alrighty. Sorry.
He would apologize like that, but made fun of me. When it turned out that he had been lining his pockets by selling Sean's personal belongings,
I thought they were trash, so I got rid of them.
When he said that with a smirk on his face, I was so angry that I almost hit him. When the next phone bill exceeded $600, I scolded him. Do you think money grows on trees? If you want to play, you should go work. Rob seemed to feel bad about it, and he was silent and sulking. And then my wife came home from work and said,
Oh, don't yell at him like that. Don't you feel sorry for Rob? I make most of the money in this house anyway. If we're having a hard time making ends meet, it's because of your poor management of the family.
She looked down on me and laughed. It's your constant pampering that's ruining it.
Shut up! Didn't you hear what Mom said? I'm trying to get some rest and relaxation. You're always whining. Don't act like you're my father.
Rob glared at me sharply and went back to his room. Look, I can't do this anymore. I can't deal with him. And you come home late too. You don't do anything much at home. Can't you also help out more with the housework? My wife sighs at the sight of me.
Isn't it a father's job to take care of the whole family? I feel bad about Rob too. But what can I do?
She didn't even apologize. Hilda, you're coming home late every day these days. You're not cheating on me, are you? My wife's face crunched up a little at my words.
So, a friend of mine has a wife and child has fallen in love with another man. I'm trying to help her with that. What would you do, by the way?
Well, I don't know. I'd talk to the cheater first, see how serious it is, and then make a decision. I think it's best to start talking as soon as possible.
I see. That makes sense.
After mumbling to herself, she went into the bedroom. I took out my phone and messaged someone. It was the next evening. I wonder if my hearing's gotten bad. Could you repeat that? In front of me was my wife, who usually looks down on me in a big way, and a young man who was standing by her, looking at me with a slightly smug look on his face. This guy, Keith, works under my wife and is 20 years old like Rob.
I like him. I've never felt this way before. I want you to leave me. I'll give you custody. In fact, I'm going to have Keith's baby, and I want to have it in peace. So I want you out of my house by the end of the month.
She looked at me with sparkling eyes like a girl who had found her first love, yet said the worst words ever. Give up the custody? You just didn't want it. Since I kept quiet, Keith, the cheating partner, immediately talked to me.
I am indebted to you. Hilda loves me more than she loves you, though. Looks like your marriage has not been going well for a long time. Then, please, give her to me.
Keith smirks.
You said so yesterday, right, dear? You said you'll make a decision after you hear what the other person has to say. Keith loves me. And of course I love him. I'm begging you. Will you break up with me?
I was so annoyed by the atmosphere, as if I was the bad guy tearing them apart. I stood up quickly and came back with something. Okay, here are the divorce papers. I'll only take Sean. I don't know anything about that other kid, I said calmly, but my wife was extremely furious.
Why? Take Rob with you.
In short, she wants to spend a happy newlywed life with her young husband, leaving everything else to me as before. How can I allow such a thing? I don't want to do that. We're not related anyway. Since we're getting divorced, he'll be Rob's new dad from now on, isn't he? Keith snickered at me.
What? I don't know anything about that. Hilda, you said you would leave the kids to your husband. I don't want to take care of some kid. I don't know how to deal with elementary school kids.
Keith, who had looked so relaxed earlier, suddenly became impatient. My wife looked troubled. Huh? Elementary school kid? What are you talking about? The one you're going to take care of is a 20-year-old boy just like you.
Huh?
Keith's surprised face at that time was so funny that I can't help laughing when I remember it now. Actually, Rob is not my child. 3 years ago, Rob came to our house with a big baggage. Who are you?
I'm here to see my mom. It should be okay, so just let me in.
He said to me with the same forceful attitude he has now. I immediately called my wife, and when she came over...
No way. You're kidding, right?
She had an illegitimate child. She had a child with a man he had a relationship with before she met me, and she gave him a sum of money as child support and left them behind. The man passed away, and none of his relatives took Rob in. He must have had an attitude problem. One of the relatives tried to find his real mother, my wife, and so Rob came to our house. At that time, Sean was in the yearly grade of elementary school, and I did not know how to explain the sudden appearance of a half-brother. Naturally, I refused to take Rob in. Then my wife got down on her knees.
Please, just for a little while. When he graduates from high school, of course I will make him leave. Just until then, please.
I just watched my pathetic wife. Rob was a sophomore in high school at that time. I reluctantly agreed. I explained to Sean that he was my wife's relative. At first, he was reserved. As time went by, Rob became arrogant to me and Sean. He looked just like my wife, and I felt that he was really her child. Rob was sleeping on a mattress on the floor, but then,
I want my own room.
when he told my wife, she told me she had no choice but to make Sean share his room with Rob. Naturally, I didn't like it, but my wife said,
It's only for a little while, right? He's leaving next year anyway.
After Rob graduated from high school, he stayed at home and showed no signs of leaving. Furthermore, my wife suggested to me to treat Rob as my eldest son. At that point, my heart was filled with the desire to divorce my wife. I guess I had already made up my mind when I found out that she had an illegitimate child. My wife had spoiled Rob, who was causing problems without even facing them. If discipline is the role of a parent, then it is my wife's role to discipline Rob. It is none of my business. I increased my working hours as soon as I took Rob in order to get our lives on a more stable footing. When I had some stability in my income and had found a place to live with Sean, I found that my wife was cheating on me. The thought of my wife divorcing me without knowing anything about it and living a comfortable married life with her new partner ignited my desire for revenge. I sniggered at their ugly argument in front of me and snatched away the divorce papers filled out by my wife. Well then, I will just leave the house as you wish. The house still has a mortgage, and you will each pay me alimony from now on, right? Oh, of course, and child support. Keith, you're in a lot of trouble. This old woman will be in her 60s in less than 20 years. You're gonna be working hard to support her. That's great. I admire you so much. Keith looked awkward when I smiled at him.
What are you talking about? That's not what you told me, Hilda. We're going to start a new life when we get married, didn't you?
Well, that's...
Her reply irritated Keith even more. Oh, really? That's even harder. This old woman doesn't help me with the housework at all. Oh, and she can't get up by herself in the morning, so you have to wake her up. And of course, she won't take care of the kids, so you'll be on your own. Keith was starting to get nervous about the consequences of his future as I spoke cheerfully. I felt sad as I was talking to myself. My wife had not been like this from the beginning. She had done a good job of sharing the housework and childcare with me when we first married. However, when she got promoted, she started to one-up me because she was earning more. And to top it all off, she has an unruly illegitimate child, Rob. What in the world is the reason for not divorcing?
I have no money for alimony. What am I going to do? We're about to have a baby. Don't you feel sorry for us?
Well, I feel sorry for the baby in her belly. To have a man who can't even say a single word of apology for destroying someone's family as a father, and to have a stupid woman as a mother who's so full of herself. I said to them in a calm manner, and they turned red in their face.
Keith, don't worry about the money. I didn't tell this guy this, but I actually have a good amount of money saved up. So there's no need to worry about the money.
Keith's face lit up instantly. She looked at me as if to say, We won. Oh, I see. Oh, I thought I saw Rob rummaging through your wallet a little while ago. I think it was a credit card. My wife's face turned pale as I made a deliberate pretense of thinking. She rushed to Rob's room.
Hey! You didn't...
Rob seemed to have overheard our discussion from his room.
Well, I borrowed some money.
I don't know the total amount, but maybe about $1,000 this month. Rob laughs bitterly, but soon turns the tables and says,
But I don't have a choice. I'm in the middle of recharging my batteries, so it's your fault for being stingy and not giving me an allowance.
Keith, the cheating partner, looked at the arguing mother and son with a tense expression on his face. I was standing behind him. Isn't he an energetic boy? I couldn't even handle him. Good luck, new dad. Oh, and don't forget the alimony. Keith fell to his knees and started groaning. I left them there without a word and walked out of the house feeling light. Thanks for waiting. Let's go to our new home. My son came running to me with a smile on his face. Are you okay? My friend, who I had asked to watch over my son, was worried about me. It was a big win. I gave a peace sign and high-fived my friend. This is my friend's story, he said. Wouldn't anyone think 80% of the story is about the person saying it? I was struggling to hold back my laughter. The night before, my wife told me the story and I realized it, so I asked my friend to take care of my son for me. I laughed at my wife who really brought her boyfriend. I was preparing to leave home to get a divorce from my wife. The contract for the new house had been signed a few days before, and most of the belongings had been moved out. My wife, who was indifferent to her family, was not even aware of this. A few months later, I was contacted by both of them through my lawyer. Your wife is demanding a reduction in the amount, and the cheating partner says that the relationship with your wife isn't true. I submitted a new audio recording of the discussion. Then I started ignoring their calls. So I sent a certified letter to their workplaces and the cheater's parents' house. They seemed to have given up, and the amount of money I had requested was transferred later. The next month, my wife and Rob appeared in front of me on my way home from work.
Jude, please come home. I was wrong. You're all I've got. You're still mad at me, aren't you? Can you forgive me?
Take us back, Dad. Mom expects me to do all the chores.
They had tears in their eyes. You're both trying to sell me something I don't want to buy. It's pretty disgusting, so you'd better stop. I'm not angry. Oh? I don't have any feelings for you at all. And, oh, isn't that guy with you today? My wife looked down as I looked around deliberately. Oh, and who's your father? Do you mean me? I have only one son, and that's not you. Rob, aren't you the one who told me to not act like your father? You don't like this and that. Get a grip. I scolded Rob over and over again. Rob was the one who rejected me, and in my own way, I've done my best to deal with him even if he was not my own child. But that's over now. Now that we are divorced, these are two complete strangers to me. If they come again, I will call the police without hesitation. Of course, because they are outsiders now. They ran away from me as if they panicked at the word police. I thought that they looked just like each other, and their thoughtless personalities were just like a parent and child indeed. Incidentally, I knew from my lawyer that Keith and Hilda had broken up soon after that. It turned out that they had been making a joint effort to avoid my demand for alimony, thinking that I might feel sorry for them. Anyways, They told their lawyer that their love was pure. I don't understand what kind of mind she has at all. But maybe my ex-wife, who became a head of the department at a young age, looked good to Keith. However, it turns out that she was full of herself and can't even get up in the morning on her own. He should be thankful to me that he found that out before they got married. By the way, I found out about the affair from my ex-wife's co-worker, whom I met by chance at the train station.
She is very close to one of her subordinates, and there are some rumors about it in the company. I thought if it was really okay because their age gap was so wide. But
I didn't have any doubt in my mind to trust my ex-wife after hearing such a rumor. My ex-wife was shell-shocked, and Keith, the cheater, resigned out of embarrassment. Keith seems to have borrowed money from his parents to pay the alimony, and now he's working from morning till night. He seems to have been thinking of a fancy life by being married to my ex-wife, who owns a house and is a department manager. But such a life is a dream. He must have learned the harshness of reality the hard way. Don't underestimate life, you little boy. That stupid mother and son are still living in that house, but they have been fighting every day. And when it got worse, the neighbors have called the police. I think Rob is just frustrated. Though my ex-wife seems to be doing what she can as a mother. I'm sure the house is in shambles, but it doesn't matter to me. 20-year-olds are usually considered adults. You can't stay a child forever. I hope they have a hard time from now on. And as for me, thank you for everything, Dad. I blush with embarrassment as my son gives me a necktie. It was the same one that Rob had sold without my knowledge. And so, Sean gave a new one to me for Father's Day. My parents are gone, and I don't have many relatives to rely on. But I have many friends, and such a kind son. I am a very blessed person, just because of that. Thinking of that, I smiled and said, "Thank you."